morning, dear friends. I am at the train station of Palermo because today I'm going to take a trip to Cefalu. I took a train to St. Agatha because it also makes a stop at Cefalu. I hope I will have a great time today. The weather is great, so I'm looking forward to this. Welcome to the final part of my trip in Sicily. Today I am exploring this cute seaside town with narrow cobblestone streets, some amazing views and lots of history. And I'm going to do something which I promised myself. Hello dear friends, I just arrived to Cefalu, and Cefalu is a cute little seaside town situated on the Tyrrhenian Sea, and it's about 70 kilometers away from Palermo and about 185 kilometers from Messina. It's lovely. There is supposed to be a very nice cathedral. I'm wearing a swimsuit under my dress, so if I decide, I can even go for a swim later on. Using a train in Italy is quite reliable. It took me about 40 minutes to get there and the round trip was 20 euros. One advice is if you go to the train station, make sure you go probably 40 minutes before that, because I was there 20 minutes before the trip and I missed the trip because there was a long line of people waiting. And I think there is an option to buy your ticket online, but I didn't want to do this because I wanted to ask some questions the person at the counter. Another advice I can give you is bring with you a jacket when you go on the train, because there is air conditioning. I personally felt very cold and I was wondering how come at the station there are so many people with thick jackets, but now I know why. And luckily I have something that I have something like a scarf. It goes together with my swimsuit. I had that in my bag, so I had to cover my shoulders because I felt very cold. So anyway, let's proceed, let's find the cathedral and let's see what Cefalu has to offer. This is the map of Cefalu, and there are a lot of interesting spots to see. The Arab Norman Cathedral, which is part of UNESCO, the medieval washhouse, the beach, the sea views, the narrow streets of the old town, and Mount La Rocca with some great hiking trails. I won't have time to go up the mountain, but I'll try to make the most of the few hours I have to see as much as I can. So Cefalu is known for its picturesque landscape, for its stunning beaches and historical architecture. Its medieval charm attracts a lot of tourists from all over the world. I saw quite a lot of people traveling with big suitcases, so obviously it's something like a resort as well. There are about 14,000 residents. There is a Norman church which dates back to the 12th century and is part of the UNESCO heritage. And yeah, there is a lot to see. I mean, it's just a pleasure to walk around this beautiful medieval town with small and narrow streets. The first thing I wanted to see was the Arab Norman Cathedral, which is the most popular attraction in this town. But it seemed closed, so I was a bit disappointed. I'll try to go around and see if there is another entrance. If not, obviously I'll just have to admire from the outside, but I don't see another entrance, to be honest. This must be it. So maybe it's not open to enter, or if it's open very early in the morning. So if we go further up, we'll get into the mountain. So actually, you know, yesterday when I was walking around Palermo, I was wearing brand new sandals and my feet started hurting, so I had to switch to flip-flops. So now it's very difficult to climb hills with these flip-flops, but it's the only way I could keep my feet healthy, at least for a day. That's what life is all about. Sunny weather, good mood, good food, and what else? Okay, I found out some useful information. The cathedral reopens at 3:30. Here they have something like a siesta, similarly to Spain. That's why the cathedral is closed right now. But I got a map of Cefalu, and I will walk and try to see some other things while I'm waiting for the cathedral to open.
Y se iba enganchando gente.
So the woman in the information center told me about this place, which is good to come to take pictures. Yeah, unfortunately I'm wearing only flip-flops. It will be difficult to walk on the stones with these flip-flops. But I can go up on the terrace to enjoy some views from above.
From here, you can get an awesome view of La Rocca, and if you look closely, you can see people walking on the mountain. I bet the views from up there are stunning. The most common symbol of Sicily is the woman with 3 legs. It represents the island's 3 parts and forms a triangle. This symbol is called trinacria, which comes from Greek. Often, it shows a Medusa head in the middle, adding a mythological touch that shows Sicily's rich history and culture. Now we are headed to the harbor of Cefalu, where you can enjoy some really nice views of the old town and the sea. Here you can see the ancient stone walls of Cefalu. These are old fortifications that used to protect the city. The Tyrrhenian Sea is in the Mediterranean, bordered by Italy, Sardinia, and Corsica. It has deep trenches, volcanic activity, and a diversity of species like dolphins, whales, and turtles. People rely on fishing, shipping, and tourism, which helps the economy but can threaten the environment. That's why efforts are in place to protect wildlife, reduce pollution, and support eco-friendly tourism to keep the sea healthy for the future.
You can see from here the medieval, the historical part of the city, the beach, and from here you can see the sea. From here, you get a really nice view of the old harbour. The gate is called Porta Pescara, which means the fisherman's gate. The public laundry is the second most famous attraction after the Arab Norman Cathedral. It's free to visit and dates back to the 15th century, although there may have been something there as early as the 12th century. The washhouse used water from the Cefalu river, where women used to wash clothes long ago. For its time, it was quite advanced. It brought in fresh, cold water from the river below the town. It had separate tanks for washing and rinsing, and it used underground channels to carry away the dirty water directly to the sea. Even back then, when hygiene wasn't always a top priority, this setup shows an early effort to keep things cleaner and healthier. This place seems to be quite expensive compared to Palermo. At least I checked the prices in several restaurants and they are more like Irish prices. But I don't mind, I'm on holidays. During my entire stay in Italy, I only had pizza once, and it was right here in Cefalu. The pizza was really nice, so with a thin crust, even though I'm more of a pasta person. But yeah, it was a little bit too big for me, but now I feel better to go and explore the cathedral. I had about 20 minutes before the cathedral reopened, so I decided to hang around the beach. Sadly, I didn't get enough time to sunbathe or swim, but it was lovely to soak up some sun and gaze at the sea. Beautiful porch.
Similar to Palermo, Cefalu is home to numerous churches and religious sites. Although we won't have time to explore them all, this one here is a stunning Baroque church called the Church of Purgatory, which dates back to the 15th century. Finally, we are going back to the beautiful Arab Norman Cathedral. It's a big Roman Catholic church dedicated to the Assumption of Virgin Mary. It's part of the UNESCO World Heritage along with Palermo Cathedral and Monreale. The church was built between 1131 and 1240 in Norman style after the Normans took over Sicily in 1091. There is a story that King Roger II promised the Holy Virgin he would build a church after surviving a storm and landing on Cefalu's beach. The church is on a hill, so it's high up and really stands out in the town. The facade of the cathedral has two big impressive towers and a beautiful round window in the middle called a rose window. The doors are really fancy and decorated with carvings and pictures from the Bible. Inside, people are often amazed by the stunning Byzantine mosaics, those colorful shiny pictures made with tiny tiles that decorate the area behind the altar. It was probably meant for the whole church to be adorned with mosaics, but in the end only the area around the altar was finished. Mosaics cover the apse, the semicircular space at the top of the altar, and about half of the side walls. Roger II brought skilled mosaic artists from Constantinople. They adapted their traditional Byzantine style of decoration to fit a building style that came from Northern Europe. The main image in the center is a bust of Christ with his hand raised in a blessing. In his left hand he holds the Gospel of John, which has a message in both Greek and Latin. I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. That's from John 8:12 from the New Testament. The cathedral has an adjoining cloister that you can enter from inside the church. The walkway has pointed arches supported by slim paired columns. Its style is similar to convents in Spain and some parts of France. This design later inspired Norman cloisters in Sicily, especially the one in Monreale. If you take a close look at these columns, you will notice that some of them are smooth, while in between there are others with a different design. I'm not sure if there is any special meaning behind this, but I just found it interesting. The Norman Cathedral can be visited for free, but if you want to go up to the roof, you have to pay 12 euros. And if you choose another tour, I personally chose the green tour, and that includes a visit to the museum, a visit to the garden and to the cloister. That was 10 euros. By the way, what I noticed in Italy is that even the pedestrian areas are not quite safe because cars are passing, and if you don't watch out, you will be run over because they are a bit brutal as drivers. So make sure you're looking, you're watching. Make sure you're careful when you cross the streets or when you walk even in pedestrian areas. It's almost time to head back to Palermo, and honestly, I've had a really good time here. But before I go, there is just one more thing I want to do. And for that, we need to pick the best cake from this shop window. I just bought tiramisu in Sicily, and I'm going to do something which I promised myself. My birthday is in February, but this February when I was in Bulgaria, my father was very sick. He was in a critical condition, and actually he died 3 days after my birthday. So I promised myself that the first opportunity I get, I will celebrate. It's just a small celebration because I didn't do anything special for my birthday in several years. For several years I couldn't do because I was taking care of my dad. And on the day, on my birthday, he was so sick that we couldn't even have a cake or light a candle. And I hope my daddy is watching right now. I hope he's watching and he's celebrating this moment with me.